Welcome to the Confident Speaker podcast by Speaking Your Brand. This is your host, AI Carol. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gotten to the end of your presentation and suddenly realize, oh no, I'm out of time and I haven't even asked for questions? Or maybe you did leave time, but the crowd just sat there in silence. No hands, no questions, and you're left standing there awkwardly wondering what just happened. You're not alone. Handling audience questions during and after your presentation can feel like stepping into the unknown, but when done right, it's one of the best ways to deepen engagement and build trust. Today, let's talk about how to confidently handle audience questions so you and your message shine. I remember early on in my speaking journey, I used to dread Q&A. I'd prepare my slides, practice the content, but when it came time for audience interactions, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd either get questions I wasn't ready for or nothing at all. Over the years, I've learned how to not just plan for questions, but strategically use them to make an even greater impact. Here are 3 ways you can do that too. 1, set the tone early. At the beginning of your presentation, right after you've introduced yourself, ask the audience a quick, simple question. It could be a show of hands or a poll. How many of you have used AI in your business this week? Or who here teaches online classes? This does 2 things. First, it signals to your audience that this is a 2-way conversation, not just a lecture. Second, it gives you valuable information so you can tailor your examples to the room. It also warms people up. So when it comes time for Q&A, they're more likely to ask questions because you've already made it feel safe and conversational. 2, build in natural checkpoints. Here's a secret. It doesn't have to be presentation first, questions later. Instead, you can structure your talk into 3 main sections. And after each one, pause and say, does that bring up any questions for anyone? Or how does that land with you all? When you do this, you keep the energy more dynamic and you allow for a better flow of ideas. You also get fewer out-of-nowhere questions at the end because people could ask as their curiosity piqued. And if you find you're an over-preparer like I used to be, this gives you breathing room. You're not cramming to finish everything before the slideshow ends. You're building connection along the way. 3, be ready for the silence and don't panic. We all fear the blank stare when we say any questions and hear nothing. But here's what I've learned, that silence doesn't mean your talk wasn't good. Sometimes it means you explained everything clearly, or your audience is still reflecting. So what can you do? Be ready with a backup. Have 1 or 2 questions prepared to ask yourself to keep the momentum going. You can say one of the most common questions I get is, and then answer it. Or you can say something I wished I had known earlier in my career was, and share a tip that deepens your content. And if someone finally raises their hand and asks a question you don't know the answer to, don't sweat it. Simply say, that's such a great point. Let me follow up with you after. I want to get you a thoughtful response. That kind of humility builds more trust than trying to fake it. Remember, audience questions aren't interruptions. They're opportunities to show that you're present, you're responsive, and most importantly, you're human. So next time you stand in front of that room or log into that Zoom, picture the questions not as curveballs, but as moments of connection. You've already done the heavy lifting by showing up and sharing your message. Just let the conversation flow from there. You've got this. Want more support preparing for your next speaking engagement or keynote? Find ways to work with us at speakingyourbrand.com. And don't forget to follow the Confident Speaker Podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you don't miss future episodes packed with insightful and actionable strategies. This on-demand episode was generated by my AI voice clone trained on Speaking Your Brand content.